So, okay. So I'm also doing a transcript too. I don't know if you guys get, when I do recordings and you're part of the meeting, do you guys get an email of the recording because you're a participant? Has that ever happened? Because that happens at work. When I'm working with clients, it'll send them a transcript. So maybe it doesn't because we're not in the same domain. Who knows how that works?
I'll let you know afterwards, Richard, because
Yeah.
I did get an email summary transcript from somebody else recently that I was completely not expecting, but he may have requested it. So I'll let you know if I get it.
Yeah, it is in the settings, at least that from what
Is
I
that
understand, it's that it's in the settings to do it. And my only feedback from being, it might have been me that mentioned, like in the breakout rooms, the fact that it was capturing is almost give people the heads up if it is going to be capturing, because on that particular one, there was one-on-one conversations and then there was emailed out to everyone. And I think people assume when there's a larger group that it might be captured, but when it's one-on-one, perhaps not.
Yeah. So I had a meeting with one of my managers, and we were waiting for everybody to get on. It was just like, hey, how you doing? We hadn't talked in a while. How are the kids? And then the meeting got cut short because nobody had time to do it, and that was the meeting. And then boom, out goes the Gemini notes of our personal conversation and stuff like that. And it was just like, okay, totally forgot about that being recorded. So yeah, you gotta watch. Nothing may happen. Like I don't usually record these ones because they're just networking. I don't have to. The only reason I'm doing it is I put it on YouTube because it helps me bring it into Heartbeat. And then really the views are super low, so you don't have to worry about anybody but people in this group seeing it. But I really do it for those that can't make it, just to kind of they can watch it on triple speed, or what is it, maximum double speed, and just get caught up with whatever we're talking about. That said, I'm going to try a couple of things. I'm going to go back to kind of the premise of what we're trying to do here is, we're hopefully going to get some business from this. Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the mandates here. But it's really about a small group, because there's only 40 of us right now, really getting to know our services well. For me, my benefit is it allows me to deliver what I do the planning, but I don't necessarily do the execution. The whole point of me starting a network to begin with is having a team behind me, like I used to have in the agency days, right? So now I can say comfortably, this is how you do it, and if you need to, we can execute it. I'll put a team together and whatever, right? But for others, it might mean, like what I heard when I was in Hamilton, like Catherine and Trevor, you might have heard some of this too, and Jody, when and I don't think who else was in Hamilton. Sorry, scanning, not meaning to leave anybody else, Catherine as well. Is, a few people said they're able to focus more on their expertise because having a network to support them, basically, right? And I'm like, that was totally what I was trying to do. I went into the market, and I wrote about this in the B2B. You can read it in more detail. I had a choice. Like, do I go back and learn all the skills that the team was doing so I could provide my plan, or just network and have a team that I can lead through the execution? And to me, it was a lot more viable to do the latter, obviously, right? So for what I see is, like, if you came out of the corporate world, you would have had a specialty as you moved up the ladder, right? Or as you moved into a larger organization. It's just the way it works, right? And it being able to specialize on that niche, because you can pull others into the situation without having to say, sorry, I don't do that. That's a part of what we're trying to do here. So can we collaborate together to build on what our services are? And then if that doesn't work, can I be the point of contact for my clients to say, yeah, I can help you with that. Yeah, I know somebody does that, and then use it for referral. So what I was thinking about that, with that mindset in play, is we always introduce ourselves. We always talk about ourselves. What I really want to think about is, I'm going to do breakouts. I'm going to try the 3. It takes a little bit of math for me, because Google Meet doesn't necessarily work it that way. I have to go, okay, how many people and whatever. But I'll get into 3. And what I want you to do is, and hopefully you got a really diverse group, and I want you to think about, how might I collaborate with the people in this group? And it doesn't mean that it's a guarantee you have to go out and go work with them. It's just, I want you to think creatively in terms of your service offering, how it might overlap with others in the group to offer a better overall prospect or project or end result for your client. Or if you ever get in a situation where the scope is slightly outside what the client's asking for, because in some of the smaller to medium-sized ones, the teams are more, you're wearing a lot more hats to accomplish a lot of things in companies, right? So what that might look like if you're being asked to go slightly outside of your scope, but for a really good client you want to work for, pulling in somebody. And the alternative, the cop out would be like, you know what, I don't do that at all, but I have somebody I can refer to as I know them better now, right? So does that make sense? So sometimes I listen to myself after the fact. I'm like, wow, I ramble on really good. I hope somebody understands what the hell I'm saying. But so I want you to think about that. And Linda, this will be like old school for you and Marta and anybody in the B&I environment. You'll that and Manu and stuff like that. But think about it like, you know, I'll do a quick little example. I'm going to pick like Manu, who's like not in my market sector at all. Let me see who I can pick here. It's not Jody. I'll do Jody and then Ali. So 3 really diverse sort of projects. And so for me, I'm going to start with Manu just because he was the easiest one to define. For me, the services that I do, digital transformation, I need a benchmark at the beginning and a benchmark in the end just to understand that huge investment that people are making and to see real transformation. And that transformation could take years to happen. Let's be honest, right? It could be there's some immediate results. I might partner with Manu to get a bead on what's working for them. So I'd find out what the goal is, where the pain points are, what they're trying to solve, trying to work with Manu to get some financial numbers, benchmarks to indicate where they are and what that means to that person, and then maybe bring him back into the loop afterwards. Now, there's probably a different way. Like if I had the ability to dig a little deep with Manu, there'd probably be a better way to do that. With Jody, I really think like she has 2 different services. I submit Daniel here. And that really center around the entrepreneur themselves, from them being more efficient, having a more fulfilling work environment, and actually executing better. She also has a closing business that looks beyond the business. Like, so as you're working on this enterprise organization, building to something, it's something tragic will happen in your life because we never know when death comes. It's guaranteed, but we don't know how or when it's going to go. She actually works with you to make sure that everything you're working really hard for is going to be captured and easily brought to the people that you want it to be brought to. So for me, all this work that we're doing from a digital transformation, you know, getting your company to work a little easier. I'll work with Jody to work on some of those processes to make sure they work for what your ultimate goals are, and to bring her in to kind of find out what those goals are and align those. And then Ali's a process guy. His business would more naturally work with mine. I think I could work with Ali in a collaborative process to say, you know, if we find a business unit or business element, like it could be sales marketing, it could be this customer service, it could be warehousing or delivery or operations and profit margin, I could work pretty easily with Ali to actually go and do the processes and to work with him to find the software to satisfy a lot of his processes. Ali, I'm being a little bit more generalized on yours, but does that make sense for what you do?
It does. It does.
So don't be as long-winded as me, but to see what you can do, you know, in short sentences, you know, to say, like, the goal is to try and dig in a little bit more and find those overlaps with your own organization to get to know everybody better, so they can be a better tool, a better value add for what you're offering. So that said, last minute questions before we break off. Any last concerns, questions? I'm only going to do 1 breakout and see how timing goes. I'm going to give you guys, so 3 people, 5 each. I'll give you 15 minutes. Is that too much? Quick nod, or that's okay, 15 minutes. Just to do a little bit of team collaboration on there, and then do what I do when you get back, and hopefully you do a good job introducing other people's businesses and show how they overlap with yours. So I'm going to go and do a little bit of math now here. Let's see, breakout rounds.
Hey, Richard.
Yeah.
Could you put the discussion point or questions you want us to consider in the chat?
Oh, shoot, man. I'd have to remember what I just said then.
Well, dude, how are we going to remember?
Okay, if I do a chat, the only thing about the chat is it doesn't go into the breakout rooms, or does it?
I can grab it from my whatever group I'm in.
Yeah, so maybe to summarize, you know, dig in, find out what the others do and how those will overlap and offer more value, more robust services of your own, and then explain how those overlaps would happen and work. And then when you come back, we'll know your business better as well as theirs. Okay, so I had Alex, Ali, and Trevor in my group. We had a group of 4. Did everybody else had a group of 3, right? Okay. And how did it go? Sorry,
Four.
Henrik?
Right.
4?
We had
Oh,
4.
you guys had 4. I did not do that very well, though. They just totally.
We had 4, then we had 3, then we had 4. Linda suddenly disappeared. We were concerned for her. Her lights went out in the background, and then she disappeared.
That's
My
like,
power went
that's
out. Actually went out in the neighborhood. I just checked with my neighbor.
oh shoot!
I'm
So
back.
I was thinking, Linda's like, wow, this conversation is boring. I'm gonna pretend I have a power outage.
Bye.
You got better things to do. What are you?
Sorry, I can't. Oh, the lights are dimming. I've never seen the lights dim in a power outage.
Sure, the power went out. I'm sure
Yeah,
it
the
did.
power went out.
We're going under a tunnel.
All right, I'm gonna, we'll pick a few, and I'm sure the first few won't. Who knows? If I pick the right person, they'll go really well. I'm just gonna pick you randomly. So again, what I'm looking for is tell me about the people in your group and how your work might collaborate with theirs and what that might look like. It doesn't have to be in depth and whatnot. Just kind of share a little bit of what you learned about that other person and how that might bring value to what your service offerings is, or may not. I don't know. And Catherine, would you be okay if I put you on? Oh, Jesus. Look, she just gave me. Perhaps not. You can back out, Catherine.
Why don't you go first, Richard?
Yeah, I did already. I did mine. Mine was a long-winded one, right? I gave you the bad example, so everybody had something to kind of easily you go above, basically. Okay, or
Um,
do you want to pick somebody else? What you're thinking, or
No,
I'll go first. I'll go first. You,
okay,
okay,
Alex.
Alex is
you
going.
baby.
I was going to pick Alex anyhow. Yeah.
Okay, I was with Ali and Trevor and Richard, and Trevor and I were very similar, but I find that he is much more about brand strategy and marketing strategy, which is closely related, but he does other things as well. But specifically, brand strategy is not my forte. I could help people with it, but I'd feel much more comfortable with an expert with that one. And then Ali is a process guy with optimizing. And I don't know if he exactly does this, but what came to mind is just how people do sales. And I think that he would be very helpful to help someone optimize the sales process, optimize also how to, he specializes in conflict resolution as well, I believe. So it would be able to, if I had 2 business partners who are not seeing eye to eye, I might contact him and say, hey, how could you help me out with this? Because that's not something that I would have experience with. And then if I have a Zoom meeting, I'm going to call Richard. He's my expert for Zoom meetings. So
I think you fast, Alex.
I couldn't let it go.
Ali, is that
So-
good? Do you want to add to that, Ali, or?
That's very well summed up. So conflict resolution, designing processes, SOPs, that's where I come in.
Perfect. Excellent. And Trevor, man, we lost Trevor. See that? Oh, well, maybe he was smart. He had the power outage.
He was watching the 17th inning that he'd recorded of the Jays game.
Yeah. Our conversation went long. We started talking about the Jays. Okay. In a minute.
18.
Okay, Catherine, I'm going to go back to you. Excellent.
Okay. I was with Marta and Henrik. Marta does strategy first branding, which is a very clear, often clients would do that and then work with us to do websites and SEO, and having what Marta does first always helps us. We were talking about how Henrik's is a less clear, like, delineation of how we could help, but he does fractional CFO work. So anyone with problems in that sphere, the financial sphere. But Henrik said that generally he doesn't know when people have marketing problems. And I think the reality is it's hard for us to know if a client needs a CFO. So I think it's more of a organic hearing about what's happening versus, like, I'm not going to be able to see if clients' books need help. So we were chatting about that.
That's good. So one thing that we were talking about with Trevor is that like branding work often is difficult to attribute. You start here, you invest, and where you're getting. We talked about brand lift studies and things like that. But even if what really resonates for businesses, for most businesses, is the customer and bringing in more customers and revenue. That's like life. That's like blood. If you sever that, everything else kind of falls apart. So I think and this is a bit of a deeper one from a where are they bleeding more element. Henry can kind of pull some of those elements in terms of like what it could be. There could be a study in terms of what business, what product line, what service line is doing worse or better. Could be a point of emphasis in terms of that. There could be a benchmark in terms of where sales are now versus where they might be. And you would have to help them in terms of like how to properly attribute that and then what those might work and look like from a financial perspective. But numbers matter a hell of a lot to a business. And if they can appreciate the branding aspect of where that might go, he might be able to solidify some of that to you. You'd have to be pretty creative in terms of sewing that story together, but it could work. I don't know if that, Henrik, am I overstepping there or does that make sense?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think also like we didn't talk about this, but in terms of our work, like if Henrik identified product lines or whatever that are where they should focus, because he said that everyone has too many services, then like that is something that both we and Marta could run with, is that like you are focusing on these more specific product services as you go forward.
Yeah, and if you ask the question, why do you want to focus on this? And they couldn't answer that question. Obviously, there'd be some. So there's something that's going to be a stretch, no doubt, right? But now you know a little bit more about Henrik does, and then some other elements that can help you.
Yeah,
Marta,
sometimes
go ahead, Henrik.
Yeah, sometimes in a company where you see like they don't really have a good product market fit, and you can't really sort of, if you don't have a good market fit, it's sometimes a little too early to really get a lot of good sales support because you're selling the wrong product to this. So you have to sort of figure that one out, and so sometimes you have to get some marketing help before you get really sales help, or you have to sort of figure out your strategy.
Yeah, they kind of. I would argue with.
Yeah, who are you? Like you have to figure that one out before you sort of start, getting in and 4 salespeople on board.
The dangerous thing could happen is you don't know who you are. You just start taking sales from anywhere, and it really confuses. But I totally agree. Like there's some elements there. Marta, do you want to add anything to like maybe share in terms of what you learned about Catherine and Henrik as well, or?
No. Catherine summarized it really well. It was the only other thing I guess I could say is we were trying to figure out what would be a way that we would even start the connection of passing the baton. And I thought, okay, maybe it is with Henrik because he, money is everything, right? Money is king, and so people have to have money in order to even decide I'm going to have a marketing budget. I'm going to this budget at that budget. But still, it was more of an open discussion. But yeah, she did it. I explained it well. So
And Catherine and the baton between you and Catherine's pretty. I mean, it might be more obvious to you than your customers, I guess. Or
yeah, maybe it is more obvious than our customers. I would think, depending on the size of the customer, though, they would understand that you have to establish yourself as a company, as a brand, before you can create any of your assets, right? And assets are many different marketing materials. It's like, as you know, the list is very long.
Alex, go ahead. You had your hand up there.
Yeah, just something that I just thought of just from what everyone was talking about is that Henrik could also find the money to pay for the marketing and the socials.
We said that, Alex.
Yes,
we told him. Yeah, he was like, I'm not really sure sometimes if they need marketing help. I said, well, you have to ask that question.
Ali had brought up a point about grants. He worked near Port Dover. He had, and maybe I'll just let you explain so I don't bubble it up, Kelly.
That was just for the group, Richard. Come on.
Sorry, yeah, we weren't supposed to share that. Yeah.
So I work with a lot of clients who are from the indigenous community, and they have grants from the government, from their own organization, and they usually pay, directly to us, and they have quite some money to spend. So they're looking forward for channels that they can, spend their grants on. They don't have many clients to begin with. So yeah, it's I can guide anyone who wants to get to know more, for sure.
Excellent. Okay, I'm just gonna go. Let's see here. Jody, you want to try? You go for it.
Sure. I was literally just typing that I like Marta's background because it's Halloweeny. So good job. So yeah, I met with Rajiv and Daniel, and I found value in both of them, but for two completely different reasons. So Rajiv is in business advisory, but specifically financial advisory. So from fractional financial and controller services to literally becoming your finance team as needed. But what really clicked for me is when he said that he helps a lot of businesses do financial roadmaps and operational budgets to make sure that the scaling and the growth that you have in your head is actually manageable, sustainable, realistic, right? So we all have these beautiful big dreams. And one of the big things that I really help my clients with is making sure that things are realistic as well. But having somebody go through the numbers to ensure and match that really helps to build the momentum for seeing a plan come to life and seeing the reality behind it. So I love that Rajiv does that road mapping thing. So that really clicked for me in being able to connect him with my clients who are doing those financial assessments. And it also fits on the second business as well, because when we're looking at how we want to prepare our financials for our families and our next of kin, and we want to like have these assets to carry over and pass along to our children, making sure that all of our assets and financials are in place properly is also very valuable as a business owner. And then with Daniel, it got a little interesting because we talked about IT and cybersecurity, and he was really helping us understand how he helps businesses save money by really doing a good audit of software and IT that they currently have that you might not be using to its fullest potential. So you know how we always are buying all of these different software and memberships and things like that, when sometimes we don't need to. Sometimes our Google Workspace can do what 3 other programs are doing that we're buying. But we went into a different conversation as well, where one of the newer services that he's offering is helping people who might be going through divorces or separations to see if they're kind of being like cyber stalked, or if their technology is being impacted by their exes or something like that. And in my primary business, I work with a lot of people who are going through separation and divorce and trying to figure out that capacity management piece as an entrepreneur when you have a major life shift. And I have had quite a few people as one of their concerns about the impact their ex might have on their business, or accessing their emails and sabotaging clients and things like that. So that was a really big, interesting trigger for me to keep in mind when I'm working with people who are going through life changes, who could use some cybersecurity expertise and guidance, and also suggestions of how to protect themselves moving forward.
I love it. Great job, Jody. And I think with Daniel too, the IT and HR are one of the first ones to get, or the last ones to get pulled into the fold as you're growing.
That's right.
So they might be working with a client that just doesn't know what they have, right? They might be just satisfying everybody's need. You got overlapping software in there. And just like, do these software, are they even compatible or whatever, right?
I do a lot of financial audits with people, and they end up paying for subscriptions that they forgot about. So between Rajiv doing this and honestly people being educated how to better use their IT, it goes such a long way to save money and just be more efficient and productive at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, one thing you may or may not realize too is with businesses, they're often paying more for their telecom bills as well than they should be.
Yep, I like that. All right, Manu, you're in the center of my screen, so we're sticking with the financial angle there. So we'll go for Manu. Who was in your group, Manu?
I have Linda, Rob, and Christina. We took more of a holistic approach. We were actually thinking of everyone as a whole, as opposed to all of us. And so one thing we have at BNI, which works really well, and I think we should bring that to the B2B cohort as well, is we truly treat ourselves as, yes, we're individual companies, but we should view, all 30, 40 members as one big company. And we should try and be on the lookout, consciously be on the lookout for how can we help our fellow members. Now, I think Catherine and Henrik made a comment that, I don't think we're related, so I don't think we could pass referrals on to each other. So believe it or not, if you actually go to your client and just say, hey, anything you need outside of finance, in my case, let me know. I have a network that can help you. They really appreciate that. Like, they really feel that you're providing, you know, a value-added service that, and you don't have to do that, right? But the small little gesture means a lot to them, and it's actually helped me build deeper relationships with them. So, you know, just popping that question, hey, what do you guys need? What's your pain point? Can bring out referrals for God knows who over here.
Yeah, in some businesses, referrals are huge because there's a low trust for that industry. So during COVID, smartly decided to fix my business. I know it was bad timing and all, but my basement, rephrase that, makes more sense. And I got a referral from my neighbor who I saw somebody working on his house. That person fixed my basement. He then referred me on to somebody who fixed my garage door, someone to pay to the house. Like, it's just like, it's just something about that. Like, and I was hugely appreciative. Not only that, he is terrible at coming back and he never circled. Once he finished his product, I never saw him again. But he kept top of mind with me because I kept thinking about him hey, I've got this problem. And I would go back to that person every time I had a problem that was remotely related to him. So it kept me top of mind with him as well. So I like that, Manu.
By the way,
Rob,
sorry, I need a contractor. So if you guys know of one, please let me know.
I do. I have one.
Awesome. Hook me up.
So what do you think about Rob? What are your thoughts on that? You were in that group too, and Linda. Linda's gone. She dropped. So.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. It was a good conversation. Because we were really trying to understand ways of being able to keep everyone top of mind for these sorts of things. And, you know, Christina had mentioned, you know, just being able to have like access to something which shows all of who we are and what we do. And then we realized, oh, we do have something like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, we do have something like that. That's in the Heartbeat app, right? Like that shows everyone in there. And because we did bios when we joined the group. So all of that information should be in there. So I think for me, it was more of a recognition of just not, like I need to put a little bit of time aside just to, again, familiarize myself with everyone that's here and really be able to access everyone that's here, you know, when those opportunities come up. But what Manu said was really fabulous. Like I do need to tell my clients more of, you know, that I am part of a huge network. So if there's anything you need at all, let me know and I can probably find you, you know, the person to do that. Sorry if you hear sawing in the background, a whole bunch of trees are being taken down. So I don't know if you guys can hear it, but
is it for the windstorm or in preparation for? Oh,
it's in preparation for the next one.
Okay. Good. I have to do that at my house too. So there you go. You can pass. Well, they're not going to come all the way from your house down to my house. So they ain't going to happen. But I have a tree that I'm looking at my sons at, and hey guys, would you climb up to the top of the tree and help me start chopping it down? It's probably not going to happen.
They would love that.
Who else was in that group?
Sorry. Just one last thing. Christina had a great idea, and I just want to mention it here. We should all be connected with each other on LinkedIn, which I think is fantastic. And you know, when we do post something and we see it, we should consciously like and comment to help each other grow. Right?
Yeah. So Catherine and Christina, you guys are part of a LinkedIn group, right? Which is super powerful, right? I'm the worst at that. Like I'll go and give the lazy thumbs up and stuff like that. I try to every once in a while do it, but that's been. Go ahead. You guys share a little bit about that if you want.
I'm not part of the LinkedIn.
Sorry, Catherine then. Catherine for sure.
I'm part of the LinkedIn group.
Yeah.
Yes, it is powerful. It's essentially, I don't think it's allowed. It's like a spreadsheet and you see, and there are people in it and they post, and then you're supposed to post at the same time and everyone has to comment on each other's thing. I will say in the recent past, it seems to be very AI heavy commenting. So I've been doing less of it. Because I've had 2 or 3 people make the exact same comment, which means clearly they're taking the thing, going to ChatGPT, and then putting the comment back. Anyway, but I mean, Manu and Christina are making a good point, which is that it is really powerful, and then also having lots of people comment makes it more visible, just like across the board for everyone to see.
I think it was last week's comments. Go ahead, Christina. You finished that thought.
Where well, my point, honestly, on the LinkedIn originally was just because, like, I'm not putting names, but there was a few people where, like, people didn't really know what people did, and like, even though I know we've had a number of meetings and whatnot, but if you haven't had a kind of one-to-one with people, or even if you haven't had multiple one-to-ones to actually have conversations about it, that I was more saying of like, hey, you know what, like, connect with like if we connect with each other, and then Manu, like, I'll give him the credit, kind of went to suggested that next step of like commenting and liking and that. But I think at bare minimum, it's, yeah, ideally it's like connecting, and then maybe it's in our stories versus like whether it's tuning out because we're all kind of just saying our name and what we do. Maybe it is a little bit more storytelling of like, hey, here's the impact of like a 2-minute impact of a client that I worked with this week and what we did, or like what we delivered. So people, it kind of sinks in a little bit further. And yeah, I think those were kind of the main things. But yeah, we were talking in general just about how, like, just spending the time to kind of do that. I actually thought the exercise was a good, interesting one because it forced kind of people to like just spend a little bit more time, remind people of what they do and kind of the value add. I'd also said, like, and I was giving some BNI references of like, of what we do there is like, okay, you share your last 5 clients. And so like, say I pick Rob out there, maybe I share my last 5 clients with him and he's like, oh, hey, or Catherine or whatnot. And it's like looking and saying, hey, here, so like, look at their website. Okay, does it need some help? Or look at their SEO that's there. Maybe she can help there, or look at something. So it's just sort of practicality. Or if we're connected on LinkedIn, it's people spending a little bit of time and saying, hey, I see these 5 people, like, I'm targeting X industry. I see these 5 people in this industry. Are you connected to them closely? Would you mind doing an introduction and seeing if they could carve 5 minutes of time? Like, anyhow, it's sort of like not putting the weight on the person that has the connections, putting the weight in just in a respectful way, saying, would you be open? And a low lift, I would say, because obviously until we've all worked together, like, people haven't necessarily built that trust and credibility in that. But potentially it's like, hey, I have this great person. I know they're wonderful. Like, could they carve 15 minutes for that person? That's a little bit where I was going.
I like low lift for the other person that's you're getting the benefit. That just makes common sense, right? You can't just say, do you know anybody that can help me, right? Like, you really got to dig a little bit deeper and then do all the work. I have templates in Google Workspace for introductions. Like, so when I think of 2 people that should work together, it's a terrible template. It's like, put this person's name, tell them what they do, put this other person's name, tell them what they do. So it really doesn't help me out much from an efficiency, but it reminds me of the key things to write in there. I think just being ready to do the lifting, if whoever's going to benefit from it, right? It should be a 2-way benefit too. And then going back, we were talking last week about authenticity. And I think as the numbers grow in LinkedIn, just like every other social media channel, I believe I want to say it's new. If it wasn't you that said this, I'll give you credit anyhow, that, like real people, it's the real people that are really going to be sought after in the long run, right? So, and I think of real people like that small business owner down the street that you really want to go and grab their coffee, even though it's a little bit more expensive, because it's really going to help them out. You feel good about that, right? So it's like if you're going to comment on somebody's LinkedIn post, maybe read the post, and just, if you don't have an element, anything to share, don't, right? Like let it be really authentic sharing. I don't know. It's, to me, it's a timeshare too thing. Like, how much time.
Richard, you're right. You're right. They should read it and make it authentic. But if you can't think of anything, a simple like goes a long way.
Yes, 100%. It does. It does go to
helps
the
with
numbers.
reach for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Good point. Yeah. Well, this was fun, guys. A few of you got off the hook. Good for you. Lucky you. I won't make anybody do it in the last 4 minutes. Did you gain something from it? Was there things that would, if you feel more comfortable, send me an email, hey, suggestions, like maybe not talk so much, Rich, or something like that. Anything you want to send me, I'll take it, right? So
I think it was great. The more questions and the more we dug a little deeper made our conversations a little bit more relevant, so we could understand kind of the who, the what, the where, and make it a little bit more realistic and applicable for our businesses, because we're all unique.
Exactly.
And this part was good too. Like,
yeah,
learning about all of them. That was very helpful.
I feel like at the end of the breakout room, if you don't share with the group, I mean, it kind of solidifies what you heard, but also gives everybody else an opportunity to hear what you heard too.